Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. I'm here with Valina Hamilton. She is a certified practitioner in the emotion, body, and belief code, and her website is kingdomlightwithin.com. And welcome, Valina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Give us a little background about yourself. When we last spoke, I know initially you had a background of corporate and then decided to go on a different journey.
Yeah, I think I feel like a lot of people will resonate kind of going through life the way we thought we were supposed to live life, and that leading us down that path of um, a job behind a desk, doing all the things, climbing the corporate ladder, looking for that next bonus or salary bump and all the things. And I feel like my whole life, my soul was poking at me like, this is not it. This is not it. And just kind of ignored it and kept down the path of responsibility and what I thought I was supposed to do until at one point it got so loud that I stepped away from my corporate job of I was there for about 23 years, and it wasn't a bad job. It just wasn't there was just I knew there was more. So I stepped away in December of 2024, and so just over a year, and just spent a very condensed amount of time figuring out
Hmm.
why am I here? Like, what is the point? What's the purpose? I think a lot of people are feeling that same stirring,
Hmm.
and and it's living in the way that we've always lived didn't wasn't really conducive to figuring that out for me.
Hmm.
So I've spent the last over a year just trying to understand um, on a condensed version of like not having a corporate job, figure out where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to, who I am before the world said who I was.
Hmm.
Um, but this didn't start just a year ago. I think that like a lot of people, reading all the books, talking to all the professionals, taking the medication, the newest fad, looking outside of myself for roughly my whole life to try and
Hmm.
find the answers, um, and coming up short. It helped a little bit, and then, oh, no, not that. That's, maybe got another layer off, but there was more. So I would say, as far as getting into the energetic side of healing, I wasn't aware of until probably about 3 years ago, but I didn't fully grasp it until I kind of went down the rabbit hole of the emotion code,
Hmm.
body code, and belief code rabbit hole of energetic
Yeah.
clearing. But I had done EFT tapping, I had done Reiki.
Hmm.
So I understood at some level that there was more than just this physical body. So um, it just needed, because it feels so foreign. It needs, like it needs to settle in. We can go from here, but we need to get to here, to the heart. And so it just took a little bit of time for it to really embody for me to see
Yeah.
results.
Yeah. I'm curious, like stepping out of corporate, I imagine, how did that feel to you at the personal level? Like, I mean, I can imagine going from, being full time at a desk doing what you were doing to suddenly just being like, you know what? I am not doing this anymore. Stepping out of that. Uh, how did you how did you even begin to start the search? Like, I'm curious, like, what led you to the emotion body belief code work and um yeah, I'm just always very curious about people's transitional journeys because I
Yeah,
feel like yeah.
it's hard. Like that's the hard part that we don't talk about, is like going from a lifetime of like validation through performance And like, here, look, I make this much money, so I'm this much of a validated human being, and like producing things to show that I am worthy of just being a human. Um, so that was super hard going from, a full-time job where I was good at the job. It was very feeding to my ego. It was, it defined who I was. And so going from that to like, okay, now how do I show my worth? Like, how am I validated by the external? That was super hard. And I would say that I'm almost to the point where I can just be a human being instead of a human doing,
Hmm.
which is super hard. But what got me, I had done emotion code for at least 6 months before I stepped away from the job because I don't think I could have done it without that supportive tool. It
Yeah.
was really helpful for me. And how I came about it was I got really, really sick. I've always had digestive issues my whole life from the time I was little.
Hmm.
Um, and I knew it had to do some emotionally, like, but I didn't, I guess, understand the full ramifications of it.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where like there was growths on my pancreas and my liver. I'd gotten down to like 100 pounds, just couldn't eat anything without like pain, severe pain.
Hmm.
And I had a doctor, went both ways, like, what's going on? We don't know. Like, there was no like
Wow.
answer that was diagnosable.
Yeah.
And I had a friend give me a book, and she's like, "Oh, I think you really like it." She's a really sweet, loving, open-hearted woman.
Hmm.
And I read it, and I started reading. I was like, "Oh, she thinks this is all in my head. It's all in my head. That's what this woman thinks about me." But I knew her heart, and that wasn't her heart. And so I kept reading, and I was like, "Yes, there are these beliefs about myself. There's these things that I've been programmed with to think a certain way and feel and now not allow feelings to come through that's creating this physical reality in my body. These cells have decided to, create these growths in my body." And I'd had other growths too, like breast lumps that have always come out benign. So
Mm-hmm.
that so it was just I feel like our bodies are always communicating with us, always. And it's just we've turned them off by taking a pill or, having a drink or whatever we want to do to kind of disassociate.
Yeah.
So I think it was just screaming at me at this point. And then I was at a dinner with a community of women, which was really hard for me back then.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned emotion code, and for whatever reason, I was like, that like resonates for me. I don't know why, just the words.
Hmm.
I was like, huh, that like I need to know about that. And so the woman that did the emotion code that was there that was talking about it, I was like, I need to know what that is. I don't know why, but I need to know. And so there's a book. So she's like, just read the book and we'll have lunch. So I read the book. We had lunch. I started on myself and I just didn't stop because I found it resonated so deeply for me. And I loved the tapping. I'd been doing the tapping for a while, but I hit a wall with it.
Hmm.
Um, and then I had gotten even to a place where I was like feeling I got a yoga certification, the tapping, I was feeling really good, and then something happened and it was like my tools aren't working. None of my tools are working. It's
Yeah.
Mayday, like this is
Yeah.
not good. And then it was just another layer. It's kind of like that spiral, and it just needed another layer peeled back. And this was another tool. This has been a very good tool for me personally. And so, with anything you get into, then like you use it on all your family and friends and test it out on various different people and animals. I'm a big animal person. So all of that was feeding my desire to know more. And then I just kept going. And I've just learned so much more about the biology on an energetic level, that we are made up of, 30 trillion cells that really just want to work in homeostasis. Like but we think they don't, that they're against us at some point. I feel like some of us do feel like our body is against us. I
Mm,
know I did, you know.
mhm. Yeah,
So I think that understanding that those 30 trillion cells want us to thrive, I didn't, I was always having something to work on. Like,
mm,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
working on that. I'm working on that. I'm working on that.
yeah.
What does it feel like just to say, I don't have anything to work
Right, I'm
on?
good.
Like, it's so antithetical to this culture of you got to keep striving and working and getting better. And because we think that if we just say, I'm good, then we're not going to evolve.
Right. Yeah.
But the truth is we will, right? Like, but we will in a different way, in a way that's life-giving and um, beautiful, like in it, like that we could focus on the journey instead of constantly trying to get to some sort of destination that
Uh,
doesn't,
yeah.
yeah.
That's really, I like what you're saying about that. It is interesting how there is sort of an obsession with self and wanting to get better and better and better, like, self-improvement. I mean, I feel like it's great, but it can also become something that you don't ever get off of, and it can become like this addiction, like everything else. And so it has, yeah, you gotta have some discernment about, okay, is this really just my ego, like being insatiable, or, you know, or am I in alignment with what my soul wants to experience? I'm curious about the modality itself. So does it locate in the body beliefs that you're carrying? Because I feel like so many, we all know that we carry programming on some level that
Yeah.
that we did not create for ourselves. And it's difficult to find what is the programming about? What are the beliefs that have been put into me? Like, because it's so much in the subconscious, how does this modality work exactly?
Yeah, and that's the thing is that we're not even conscious of all the beliefs that have created our reality, have created our biology.
Mhm.
And the way that this modality works is it starts with the emotions. It locates trapped emotions in the body because every emotion carries a frequency, good or bad, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when it gets stuck in the body, because we haven't given it the opportunity to be felt, because some of us haven't been taught to feel feelings or just not given permission to feel feelings, we'll say. And they get stuck and they cause this disharmony in the body because we know that we are, frequency and energy and thoughts, emotions, words all carry a frequency emotion or a frequency or an energy. And so when it gets stuck in the body, it's causing this like dissonance of the frequency in that area. So for women, a lot of emotions do get stuck in our uterus, in that organ, that particular organ. So there's different emotions that end up different places. For me, with my gut and my liver, it was very telling, that those were the types of emotions I was holding on to. A lot of resentment and frustration and bitterness, things like that. Like you just even think about the word bitterness. That's what we use to describe foods, right? And
Hmm.
so that emotion being stuck in the digestive system just intuitively makes sense, right?
Hmm.
So for the emotion code, I would say like 80% of dysregulation or dis-ease in the body comes from trapped emotions. And so when we can like release those things, the body starts reorganizing on an energetic level that, because it's trying to come back to homeostasis. So it reorganized to get there. And then the way it kind of progresses is then the body code deals with like imbalances, misalignments, maybe built up toxins, meridians, all of those things that make up a little bit more tangible of the body, but it's still on an energetic level. So, like I said about women carrying a lot of emotions in their uterus, what will happen is that that organ will get misaligned fairly easily.
Mhm.
So I have daughters, and when they're off on their cycle or they have um, menstrual pain, that's usually an indication that there's a misalignment or an imbalance in that organ. And so when we focus on correcting the misalignment or the imbalance or resetting or whatever, we'll see that like immediately that the pain will go away. If it's that, if it's, missed cycle, there's usually a couple more times there's something else going on. But it's really interesting how, you've got the emotions. Once you clear those out, the body organizes, but then sometimes the body needs a little extra help to realign, to get in sync, in balance, reset, that sort of thing. That's where the body code comes in. And then the belief code is kind of a little deeper. So these are the things that are running the show that we don't know are running the show. Um, Here's an example of one that was pretty significant. The person had a physical symptom that pointed to just, I use books like by I think Ina Segal and Louise Hay about, understanding what maybe the body's trying to tell you when there's a pain, when there's something going on. And so I use that to kind of get an idea of what was maybe going on. And we did a belief code, and it was a whole system. And when I say a whole system, it's like you can think of it as a tree, and the leaves being these negative programs, the trunk being these limiting beliefs, and then the core, the root ball of the tree being a faulty core belief that's being fed by a faulty core identity, which would be like the soil.
Mm.
So sometimes you can't just get rid of a limiting belief because it's tied in to all these other things. And
Mm.
so we have to kind of root out the whole system to really um, kind of pull it out. Otherwise, there's still pieces and components that are still running in the background. And that's not all the time. Sometimes we can just do one limiting belief here and there, whatever. But in this situation, there was the very core identity, the faulty core identity, because it's not true. It was I'm not loved or accepted. So if I have an identity of I'm not loved or accepted, then that is going to feed some sort of core belief that I had that I'm unwanted. So in this situation, it was I'm unwanted was the faulty core belief, the root system of the tree. And in that were limiting beliefs like nobody wants me around, I need to, steal energy from other people, just things that like reinforce
Mm.
that belief system, right? Like if I think nobody wants me around, what am I going to do when people are around? Am I going to like receive it or am I going to push them away?
Mm.
Right. So it's very much like these things running in the background um, are trying to create congruency with the conscious world. Right. So if I think that, then I want my reality to match it because otherwise I'm incongruent with, there's a fragmentation.
Yeah.
So I think that if once her body got to a point where she was having physical symptoms, it was an indication that that was ready to go because she had
Mm.
been working on those types of feelings on a conscious level,
Yeah.
but subconsciously they were still there. And the body's like, feeling really uncomfortable, like because we've got this subconscious belief system that no longer coincides with the conscious. So
Mm.
it's a lot of energy, right?
Yeah.
To fix that. So that's where her symptom gave us the clue of what wanted to come out. And it was
Yeah.
neat.
It's so interesting. It makes me think of, I think Bob Proctor talks about, the conscious and the subconscious. And it's like you can think that, oh, well, I'm whatever, I'm confident, I'm
Mm-hmm.
healthy, I'm this and that. But if you got all these subconscious beliefs underneath, it's like it, you're right, it doesn't come to fruition. And so diving into and changing those subconscious beliefs, then it's like then you're a match, and then your reality changes. So it's super interesting. So the way I'm curious, is it through muscle testing that you locate
Yes.
the whether the belief is actually a problem or not? Yeah.
Yeah, all of it is using muscle testing. And there's, so this was adapted by or created by Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he's got like this app. He used to be, he's a chiropractor now, but he used to be a program coder. So that's,
Interesting.
I think, the
Yeah.
mesh of the two. And in a lot of chiropractic practices, they use muscle testing typically. I don't think they talk about it, but it's kind of a
Hmm.
known kinesiology, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And so he developed this app where it's literally because muscle testing only gives us yes, no answers. So is there a trapped emotion? Yes, no. Is it in column A? Yes, no. Is it in column B? Like that, the
Hmm.
whole thing. So there's this app that shows that has like you just go, left or right and yes, it's all yes and no. And so when I'm doing it and I'm muscle testing, is it, on the left side? Is it on the right side? Is it on, line, an odd line? Is it on an even line? I don't know what I'm getting to as far as the beliefs go. I don't see what they are until I get there. And then when I get to it, like, a belief of I always lose. Well, is that, that's where it's taking me. Is that accurate?
Hmm.
And then I confirm whether it is or not. And then, we ask questions. Is there more we need to know? Because sometimes there's associations keeping it stuck, like it's connected to another thread or something.
Hmm.
And so we have to clear those out. Some of it's inherited. I mean, some beliefs we didn't
Yeah.
sign up for, right?
Right.
Like it
Totally.
happens. Yeah. Sometimes things are absorbed from others. We know that there's a lot of programming that we get from our youth when teachers and well-meaning family members or whatever tell us certain things. It sometimes comes from just stories. Sometimes we see ourselves as a villain in a story that we've watched. Whatever. It doesn't ultimately, it doesn't always matter where it comes from, as long as it's ready to be released, because we have that incongruency going on between the conscious mind and the subconscious. And so it's it's not it's not difficult, but I think where a lot of people get tripped up on this modality is the trust in themselves
Mm.
and the need to perform a certain way. And when we go into it with this, there's no wrong answers. There's always just information. It's all just information. It gives us a neutrality that I feel like allows that trust to come in and just go with the flow.
Mm.
But because I always recommend, like, okay, I can do this for you, but you can do this too. This is not a me thing. This is a all of us thing can do. And what I run up against a lot of times is, well, I don't really trust my muscle testing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I totally get it because I had the same feeling early on too. But I like for me, I would really just love people to go inside of themselves because we all have the answer inside. Like my answer inside of me is not the same as the next person in them. So while I do practice, these codes on folks, I do try to encourage that like, hey, just every night, right before you go to bed, just clear one emotion, one trapped emotion. You can get the free chart online, just
Yeah.
muscle test right before you go to bed and keep a little journal and see what happens. But
Interesting. Yeah. I'm curious to have, do you have any maybe anonymous client story that you can share as far as like the transformation that they experience going through this work?
I think that a lot of so what happens when we get rid of like a belief system or a belief that's been running the program, it's almost like just changing train tracks. Like you've been going this way and then the train like veers off this way. So it's so subtle
Yeah.
when it comes to beliefs. Or even just changing a ship 1 degree and now you're on a different trajectory.
Hmm.
So the feedback that I've gotten on the belief coding stuff is just like there's this ease now. And like one gentleman in particular, he was just feeling stuck with like his own what he had going on career wise, and it just felt heavy, like walking through peanut butter is the way I somebody told me once, and it totally resonated.
Hmm.
And after the belief code, I talked to him a few weeks later, um, because he's a counselor and he works in other energetic modalities too. And he's like, I meant to tell you how light and creative I felt after that. And it was just like so subtle, but and it didn't hit until the next day or this day after, because by the time I talked to him, it had been over a month. He's like, but it just, that was the only thing that I had done to see the benefit of how I was feeling. So I attribute it to that. It's with the belief code, it's really hard to pinpoint, whereas the body code, it's like, oh, your head's hurting, you have migraines.
Yeah,
Let's get to it. And then we get the feedback of the migraine, dissolving, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the belief code is so much more subtle, but I have to say it's like it powerfully changes the lens that we're looking at life through. And that's what
Yeah,
it is. It's just a lens that's
yeah,
kind of maybe a little dirty, like we just need to
yeah,
clean it up a little bit.
yeah.
And but it's subtle. It is so subtle. And um I work with a lot of women that um just are not sure why maybe they're not losing the weight they want to, they're not living the life they want to live, things like that. And it's so telling to see some of these beliefs that are running the reason why the projection of their reality isn't where they want it to be. And I
Hmm.
would say, like where I live, one of the biggest beliefs that hold us back on a very like collective level is the belief that we're bad, that we're inherently bad, that we were born broken sinners. That type of belief system is like an anchor while we're trying to swim. And
Hmm.
um, when I ask, I volunteer with women at the jail, and when I ask them, "Are you a saint or you're a sinner?" I always get, "I'm a sinner," and it's like, well, no wonder you're in here, because you
Right.
think there's something wrong with you, and there's not.
Yeah.
It's the belief that there's something wrong with you that's creating some of the reality that's going on, and so if there's like one thing I could like beat into the heads of everyone that I know is that you're not broken, you're not a sinner. You were born perfect and a masterpiece. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean you
Sure.
should keep making mistakes.
Right.
It just means that that's not inherently your identity, because we do take it on as an identity.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's, I have to say, religion, um, I feel like spirituality and religion are two different things, right? And religion, I mean, if you just think about how long it has had power over the masses
Hmm.
in controlling how they think and what they believe.
Yeah.
I mean, and then that just gets passed down through the DNA. So you could be not a religious person, but still somewhere you're carrying
Mhm.
this belief that maybe your ancestors and your family has carried. Yeah, it's really big and it's really intense. What I find really fascinating though, is that we are evolving. So
Mhm.
consciousness is evolving, right? And so, you had this experience of being in corporate and being like, there's something else. This can't be all there is. This can't be the reason why I'm here. Like you can't explain that away, right? Like to me, it just shows that there's no way that you could try to suppress things, sure, and some people have been really good at that, but I feel that the energy and the force of evolution and of consciousness, it's so strong that there's no way, as you know, at some point it's gonna break open and break free, and it wants to go to the next level of expression. You can't stop it. And so um I just feel so, I guess, hopeful and excited for humanity, because what I'm seeing is just like there's a lot that's being illuminated about, like, where we've been led to, and also waking up to who we really are, which,
Mm.
we are these, like you said, we are perfect. We are designed in the eyes of the Creator. Like, how could we not be?
Right.
Um, and and we're here for a really, you know, for we are part of the divine. There is no separation, We're here as an expression of the divine, and you know, and we're discovering what that means, right? So
Yeah.
it's powerful.
I agree. I'm hopeful too. And I know that like in general, I hear about how like women in their 40s are the ones that kind of go through what some people like to call a midlife crisis, but I feel like it's an awakening of like
Mhm.
the soul just trying to push through and say, "Hey, like I'm in here. Can you like pay attention?" But I found, and maybe this is just because my daughters are in their early 20s. So I see a lot more of that younger group having that same feeling of like, this is not it. There's something more. And, some people end up diagnosing it with, mental illness or,
Mm.
you know, something else. But I really think it is the soul trying to come through faster than maybe like my generation is a little bit, I'm really hopeful in looking at the generation below me. I'm an Xer, I guess, Gen X person.
Mhm.
Um, but seeing that they're not eating what they're being fed. They're questioning it and saying that
Yeah.
doesn't resonate with me. There's something in there that doesn't feel right. And, it's kind of akin to the 70s with the Jesus revival and all the
Yeah.
like make love, not war.
Yeah.
Um, but they're not using the alcohol like we did.
Mhm.
They're using other ways. And I think that it's just the evolution of it feels like it's on track with that generation for me, like just what I see. But
Yeah.
that might be my bubble, but I'm
No,
just gonna give that attention.
I agree. I mean, when my son, who's 22, um, he was a rebel rouser. He pushed against authority, and that was not me growing up. And so I didn't know what to do with his energy, but it was like, um, yeah, he's taught me so much. I think my awakening came later, in my late 20s, but he in his, I mean, early teens, I mean, he just wasn't gonna toe the line. And they do see I think they can recognize what's false and what really is like, well, why do they question more, and then they can see through it. It's like I feel like they can see the patterns, and they can
Mhm.
see exactly the maybe the agenda, or what its schooling is trying to get them to
Yeah.
become, and all of that, and they are pushing back against it, and they're not falling in line. And so that's a really positive thing. I mean, they're gonna be the system breakers, they're going to create the new systems. And so, yeah, they definitely need our support, though, because that's a big
Yeah.
task.
It is a big task and it feels lonely too. I feel like there's so many people that have like they're awake to this stuff, but they're just sitting around like, are you awake?
Yeah,
Who can I talk to? Like,
it's
are you
true.
safe to talk to? Are you
Yeah,
safe? And like that's the loneliest place to be is not to have someone to talk to about what's going on in your mind.
Yeah.
Because then you start questioning yourself, like, okay, am I losing my mind? Is this like wrong? So I feel like there's a lot of that apprehension that's still present until we just kind of normalize conversation around things that don't fit in a nice, neat box, whatever that
Yeah,
box.
I feel like so many of us are aware of like there's just so much more that we could be doing in terms of just yeah, just addressing our supporting our kids in discovering who they really are and
Mhm.
like you know how to be in touch with their emotions, how to um, stay centered, calm, and grounded, and those kind of things. It's just not. It's not part of the curriculum or the culture,
Yeah, yeah.
and so it can be difficult to get that information out. But kudos to you. I mean, your daughters are lucky to have you, so that are they
Well,
are they open to receiving? Do they ever roll their eyes at you?
they did because I was a totally different person the first, 45 years of my life. So it was hard. The rules of the game changed for
Yeah,
them. And actually there was a bit of a reorganizing that needed to happen where like some of the old needed to be expressed to allow space for the new
yeah,
type thing. And so
yeah,
they're thankful now, but I wouldn't say in
yeah,
the past
yeah,
I was a different person. Like I would say people wouldn't really recognize who I used to be.
yeah, yeah. It's very cool. So how can people work with you? Where can they find you? Well, obviously, kingdomlightwithin.com, but do you have any certain offers right now on the table?
Um, it's what I'm doing is mainly focusing on just kind of getting into alignment that the right people will come to me that need it at the time. Because again, I don't feel like any of us need anything outside of ourselves, except that sometimes we need people to guide us into areas of how and give the trust, the belief, and the encouragement that we lack at the moment. Because that's really, I think, what holds us back. It's just our own
Yeah.
distrust. So the website's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Um, I have just been very, because I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I feel very confident and comfortable with it. But I am not in a place where I feel like um, I am pushing it out to others, more of just inviting the
Hmm.
space
Hmm.
and receiving whatever the next steps look like. And it's been really, because in the past I would have had a marketing degree, I did process consulting,
Oh,
I
wow.
was all in it. So this
Yeah.
is a very different place for me, but I've found that it's where I want to be. So the website's available, Instagram. I'm public. My name is very unique.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
um,
Great.
so anybody can, reach me that way.
Yeah.
But it's very much that I just want to invite the people who resonate
Yeah.
with just this step of their journey because it is just a step, it's just a chapter, and
Hmm.
that we meet the right people when we need to,
Yeah.
and to help us along that next step.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Um, yeah, what a journey you've had of self-healing, really. And I think it gives people a lot of hope. And it's, the body definitely can heal, and we can free ourselves from what isn't serving us. So thank you
Yeah.
so much, Valina, for sharing your story and for being here. And thank you to the listeners. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll meet again soon. So thank you,
Thank
Valina.
you.
All
I
right.
enjoyed it.
Bye, everybody.